It could be because she's a women's rights activist, but certain things shock Rita Aciro about the Ugandan society.
Walking on the street and somebody's, patting a woman's butt, that shocks me. That up to today we don't respect women and girls. A little girl, and you know how these girls these days have matured. At 11, and men are laughing and, talking about her. That shocks me, because this could be their daughter, it could be their sister.
But generally on matters gender equality, she feels that Uganda has made significant strides over the years.
But I think the challenge is we're becoming too comfortable with what we have, and we're not pushing harder to even get to the bigger numbers that we would like to see that represents the population of the women in Uganda.
She feels that one of the key challenges is that people can easily recognize a woman member of parliament or councillor, for instance, as a leader, but give no consideration to women leading their communities in other aspects. As an activist, Rita's life is hectic.
Very risky, challenging. At times people misinterpret you, people misunderstand you, at times you get threats.
She is married and is a mother of 2 boys. Her work has taught her to listen more.
The things we do reactionally without listening to yourself as a person, whether it is the right thing to do at that particular moment. And at times you regret.
If she could turn back the hands of time, Rita feels that in the advocacy for women's empowerment, a bottom-up approach would have been better instead of the top-bottom method that is the norm.
Create the demand and let the women speak, let the men speak, let them be at the front line.
So is she a feminist in the real sense of the word?
A feminist is that person who does not tolerate discrimination of women in all ways and objects to male dominance. And I'm one person who objects to male dominance, because I believe, as a Christian first and foremost, that God created us in his own image and we are all equal.
Women's rights activists are normally perceived as rabble-rousers and frustrated women. Does this perception worry Rita?
I really don't mind about the perceptions people have. It is what I believe in and what I do to improve other people's lives.
She argues that male domination of the African or Ugandan society is one of the factors responsible for underdevelopment.
Those things you've seen on TV, we've actually followed them up with the police, and certain actions have been taken. So we do not always have to be on the streets to oppose police, but we also sit with them and dialogue with them.
In the few years, especially in the north and eastern regions of Uganda, female nudity has been used as a tool of protest and dissent. Rita appreciates the reasons for this.
Desperate situations call for desperate solutions.
But critics of such forms of protest say it demeans women who are respected as mothers and also gives a bad example to children.
Somebody says, I have disagreed with this voting process, I'm going to court. Or I have disagreed with the entire process, I'm taking up arms. And isn't there, and there are other options? There are options. So people use different options to get to certain solutions because they think at that particular moment that is the strategy that works best.
Rita was one of the women who came out strongly against the attempt to ban the miniskirt in the so-called miniskirt law, but she has now directed her energy at pushing reforms in the electoral laws. Debate on this is ongoing in Parliament.
This is a law that parliamentarians actually should be sleeping in Parliament right now to ensure that we have that law passed.
As a young girl growing up, Rita admired South African activist Winnie Mandela and former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Later, she associated herself with women like Winnie Byanyima and Miriam Atembe.
There was the way they would articulate issues. Unfortunately now, I don't know if our generation and probably even the ones who are in Parliament and in Council, I do not see that level of articulation. I don't know whether we are not reading enough or we are doing it deliberately, but there's something that is not right.
Her mother was her greatest inspiration.
Big heart, perfectionist. She did everything right. And I've taken a lot from my mother, which I'm told she took her from her mother as well.
She is passionate about seeing young women succeed. How they see themselves and what they do with their lives is critical in this journey.
What I would like to see for women getting out of university, getting out of college, is an empowerment that is not dependent on men.
Our efforts now are geared towards popularizing the Women's Manifesto ahead of the 2016 general election. The manifesto focuses on women's health, girls' education, women's land and property rights, women's economic empowerment, as well as women in leadership and decision-making.
We're out there selling it to political parties, but also targeting candidates who want to run, and we'll be watching which political party will be on the women's side.
On gender rights, Rita argues that it's not a women versus men thing, but about the well-being of society.
It is society that has taught us to behave the way we do, and therefore we need to learn how to unlearn certain things in life.
Josephine Karunji, NTV.